everyone. This is Vanessa Mota with MECBA, Mota Cross-Linking Business Academy, and CAINEM president for the United States of America. And this is the entrepreneurs, the Chamber of Entrepreneur, International Chamber of Entrepreneurs. Today we began a program that's called the Leading Fantastic Five. And this program is where we spotlight five entrepreneurs. Today, they are all women, and I am very happy to say that as well, because as women, we are always out there doing and succeeding every day. So we are highlighting five women that are extraordinary and have pivoted through their businesses and have had challenges, failures, and have been through so many things in order to be where they are here today. And they're the kind of women that know that this is not where it stops. It's going to continue. They are going to continue failing. They are going to continue pivoting, struggling in order to be more successful. And as we all say, growth is a part of success, and there's growing pains as well. Today we are going to begin with Michelle Dugar. How to see their faces. So we are going to begin with Michelle Dugar. Michelle Dugar is both an instructor and practitioner. I need to see which one is Michelle Dugar. Yeah, okay, good. I got it. Michelle Dugar is both an instructor and practitioner when it comes to marketing. She welcomes the opportunity to help individuals and organizations rock out their brands and increase profits. Her award-winning firm, Vibe Marketing Solutions, provides strategic plans as well as creative execution. Clients include Wachovia Mortgage and Salvation Army. As a design thinking facilitator, she also helps teams collaborate and engage in creative problem solving. As an educator, Michelle Dugar has over 20 years of experience as a professor of marketing at Benedict College and the University of South Carolina. As a certified instructor of entrepreneurial training, she has helped many entrepreneurs launch and expand their businesses, sharing her own experience as an entrepreneur. Michelle has shared her insight on Fox News, NPR Radio, the state newspaper, NBC, Fox, as well as numerous workshops and public speaking events. Welcome, Michelle. Thank you very much for being a part of the Leading Fantastic Five.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to have this opportunity to converse with you, to share with you your audience, and kudos to you for making this possible, not only to give women a platform, well, really all entrepreneurs, but to give us an opportunity to help others. So thank you.
No, thank you. I would like to know more about how you began. What made you an entrepreneur? What's the beginning of the Michelle Dugar story as an entrepreneur, a businesswoman, a mompreneur, everything that goes behind your name?
You know, when I was going to grad school, if you had told me that I was going to be one, an academic, two, a stay-at-home mom, three, entrepreneur, I would have laughed at you because I thought my path was corporate. And it's interesting when something that we call life happens and creates these segues, but I didn't set out to be an entrepreneur. It really, probably for a lot of entrepreneurs, it came about because I needed to create my own opportunity. So I'm gonna try to tell it really, really quickly. I was expecting to go into corporate. I got married, and right before I was taking a position after graduate school, after the MBA, my family, my husband and I were supposed to move to New York City. And I was like, do we really want to move to New York? And I happened to have a class when I was in graduate school at University of Michigan about entrepreneurship. And we had to do a business plan. And it was just one of those things I thought of as a class assignment, put it to the side. But I dusted it off and had made plans. Instead of us moving to New York, we were going to stay here in the Carolinas, and I was going to start that business. And at the time, it was a green card company. And I was waiting on getting funding, but projects were falling into my lap to do consulting. So it's one of those situations where the entrepreneurial opportunity found me. And I was doing consulting, where people say, hey, can you help us? You have an experience in marketing and publishing. Can you help us out? And I did. And then that led to another opportunity and to another opportunity. And then before I knew it, I had this full-fledged business as a marketing consultant. And then my other endeavors were where I recognized the need. So my daughter had a thing for princess when she was very little. She just turned 20 last month. But when she was a little girl, she wanted things with princess. And I was like, okay. But all the princesses that we saw, for the most part, did not have brown faces. I was like, can somebody make a princess with a brown face? And it was like, wait a minute, I could do that. So the second entrepreneurial endeavor I had was to respond to an unmet need that my family experienced, that I experienced. And so with that, we started Ginger Snaps Baby, where it's all about the brown little sweetie. So we did personalized items for children of color, or inspired by children of colors, whether they were bowls and placemats and embroidered blankets. And I enjoyed working on that, building that business, and we put it on a hiatus about 7 years ago because I was making a pivot to do more of my marketing consulting services. So hopefully that's short enough of a nutshell, but one, the opportunity found me, and the second was to meet an unmet need in the marketplace.
And how do you feel that even with this pandemic, how is the marketing business going? Has it gotten affected any, or would you say that it was a blessing? I have heard many entrepreneurs say something like that.
That it was a blessing?
Yeah, that to some people it's been a blessing. I can tell you, for me, I was able to catch up and able to divide all my businesses and make, I was not that entrepreneur that I looked everywhere. So for me, it was a blessing in disguise. So what about you?
I think it was a little. Are you saying that you had more free time on your hands?
I did. I was able to organize a lot of things. A lot.
So yes, I had opportunity to there was a little bit of more of a downtime, not that much, because I'm also a full-time marketing professor. So we were pivoting to doing classes online. So in some ways, it gave me more free time from having to travel back in campus, but it also took up some time from preparing for this new opportunity of virtual world. So I think from a marketing standpoint, or really in business standpoint, the pandemic highlighted what was not working well to begin with. So, for example, if your marketing wasn't that strong, you weren't that organized, the pandemic highlighted that, because maybe some of the business that you relied upon couldn't come to you, and you didn't have a means in place to build out new businesses. So one, if things weren't working, that really became highlighted. Two, if you had a presence online, as a lot of us shifted to living our world or our day-to-day in a virtual world, if you already had that infrastructure, it was a plus for you. And if not, people were scrambling like, oh, I need an online presence. Or like restaurants,
Yeah.
ooh, how can we get online orders? So if you already had that, you were ready to respond. If you did not, it may have hurt you, and it gave you that opportunity. All right, let's get our ducks in order, and so forth. So it's a mixed bag. It was I think the pandemic has forced people to tighten up.
Yes, that is true.
Mhm.
What is something disruptive that you have had to do in your business during
Ooh.
this time?
Well, right before you may have noticed I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Yes.
Right before the pandemic, like literally like February, March, I was planning to move into a separate office space for running my businesses. And like we were speaking of paint colors, I think end of February, March, when really everything hit. And the opportunity to move into that space got shut down in part because they put everything on hold due to the pandemic. So one of the ways this impacted me was I no longer had that physical space available to me. Also working more from home, but I didn't have a dedicated space for my business. So I've learned to have to reorganize. And then again, one of these situations where the pandemic highlights where we need to tighten up, I realized that maybe I didn't need as large a space as necessary. It forced me to be leaner in my operations planning. So even when the that office space has become available to me now, I'm delaying when I move in just because due to the pandemic, I realized I really need to keep my operations very, very lean to try to reduce
Okay.
my
Yeah,
overhead.
that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have, okay, so what is one failure that has been your success? One failure in your entrepreneur life
Wow.
that you can consider that success?
When I had when I had the company that marketed to the children's line, I also had a blog with it. So I was a mommy blogger. And that particular week, well, before when I started the blog, which came about because of the work I did in that children's market, I thought I had to be perfect. I was aspiring to have like a magazine like type publication with the blog, and everything had to be perfect, and I was stressing out and overthinking, and it took a lot of time. And that particular week I had a series of what we could call failures, where orders didn't go out at time, I didn't have the articles written at time. Everything I had planned, it was a colossal failure that week. So when I did my blog post, I was just very transparent about my struggles that week, and struggles as a mom and mompreneur. And I was just very transparent. And that was a highlight to me that you don't have to be perfect. And that, even though it's not one necessarily failure, it was a week of failures, but the fact that it forced me, because I was rushing to do a deadline, to just put myself out there as is, it was a big aha and learning moment because everyone embraced me. Actually, that post was one of my most popular posts, and I was feeling the love, and it was like, I could just be authentic and still have high caliber standards, but don't have to be perfect. And that changed how I operate, and and that I had more peace and ease with not trying to be perfect.
You just said a key word, and I hope all entrepreneurs hear it. It is okay to be authentic.
To be
Authenticity is also a success. Um, Thank you so much, Michelle. I would like for you to leave us with a message coming from Michelle Dugar. If you could just give us a message so that we can learn from it as well.
well, it 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 goes back to being authentic, and many times you know the answer, but to trust your gut. And when you design a new business, make sure you're not building a job, but build something that you love. And one of the key things is identifying and being true to who you are, what you enjoy doing, show up your way, and you are enough.
Thank you very much, Michelle. And I hope you have a Merry Christmas. And I will tell you in Spanish, Feliz Navidad, okay? Thank
Feliz
you.
Navidad. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. We now have Casey Whitener. And Casey Whitener, Dr. Casey Whitener is the founder of Clemson Road Creative, a management consulting company, and lecturer at the University of Carolina teaching strategic management and entrepreneurship. She hosts the radio show Right On, South Carolina, about writing, and YouTube show Parenting Porcupines about libertarian mommying. She is the author of two books, After December, Chrysalis Press 2019, and Practical Entrepreneurism, Great River Learning 2021, and co-author of Redesign Work Volume, A Beginner's Guide to Autonomy, Clemson Road Publishing 2020. She is a member of South Carolina Writers Association and the South Carolina Humanities Council Speakers Bureau. I would also like to add to that I have taken the Clemson Road Creative Consulting, and it was phenomenal. I learned so much. And because of this, I was able to separate all my businesses because before this and everybody would be able to I was able to divide all the things that I do and go from an entrepreneur, transition myself to a serialpreneur. So I love your program.
Oh, thank you. That's really, look, you have been so fantastic for me and for Clemson Road Creative. You're such a great brand ambassador for us. I just really appreciate you and excited to watch your influence grow and watch your customer base grow. And I'm excited to be here, man. How great is Michelle Dugard? You got Stephanie coming up too. I mean, just being in the company of these women is amazing to me. So thank you so much for inviting me and including me in this.
No, thank you. I would love for you to tell story from were you a stay-at-home mom, were you in the corporate world, and then you made that transition into this entrepreneur? What's your story? Tell us about
it. You know what? I aspire to stay-at-home momhood. That has never been my life. I've always had multiple jobs. So I came out of corporate. I had a job for 8 years in a multinational corporation up in the upstate. We moved down to Columbia in 2012, and I was finishing my PhD. And I was at home for about 3 months with Holly while I was finishing my PhD and writing my dissertation. She's 4 or 5 years old at the time. I guess she was 4. And I did not want to go back to work. So that was my, I absolutely did not want to go back to 8 to 5. I didn't want to put her in daycare. What can I possibly do? So I became a freelance writer. That's why the name of the company is Clemson Road Creative. We started out as a writing studio. I have a good friend, Jody Kane-Smith, who joined me in Clemson Road Creative. And we were writing for people. That was our whole build, really, from the beginning. But as it turns out, I can do a lot more than that. I had this corporate training background. I also have this software business analyst background. So as people more and more started to get to know me, our clients started asking me to do other things. So Clemson Road Creative kind of morphed into this management consulting practice. And we now have what we consider to be 2 primary lines of business. But I basically got here by not wanting to work for anybody else. I wanted to do it my way. I wanted autonomy. I wanted to be able to control my own destiny. And I've been able to do that now. Clemson Road Creative was established in 2013. So we've been around, or I guess 2012. So we've been around for 8 years. And every year we get better. And every year we bring on more clients and we have bigger reach. So it's been good.
Oh, wow. So that's what made you go from corporate world. Do you miss that 9 to 5?
God, no. God, no, not in any way. In fact, I believe that it's the 8 to 5 that sucks the life and energy out of business people. I think if we let people work the way they want to work, if we let them work from home, if we let them work from the coffee shop, if we let them work at 2 o'clock in the morning instead of 8 to 5, people would be so much more productive. And I think pandemic has shown that. I mean, I'm going to guess that the next question is going to be about pandemic. And anticipate that. I think we've seen that. Michelle was exactly right. Like, we're seeing things that didn't work before in stark relief because of pandemic. And a big part of that is the traditional structure of the workforce. It does not work. And so that's kind of been, we've always been in a modified environment. We work autonomously, asynchronously, when you can, where you can, how you can. And so now we're teaching other people how to do that as well.
So what is something disruptive you had to do during this time for your business?
Yeah, we basically came at this remote work strategy. We built it. We have a methodology for how to implement it. We like to teach other companies how to measure their people to results instead of time and things like that. And we knew that we needed some empirical evidence. We needed to show that it worked, but we didn't know anybody who was doing it like we were doing it. Well, then when the pandemic hit, a lot of people went home. And of those people that went home, quite a few of them found their way to this remote, autonomous, asynchronous kind of environment. So we conducted research over the summer. We have just a stack of data right now on companies that did very well over the pandemic when they went remote and companies that really struggled. And we're able to show that when people put in place the kinds of principles that we're talking about in terms of how you measure performance, that they're much more successful. So the most disruptive thing we did, we got empirical evidence, and now we're writing papers based on what we learned over the summer. And it really was, a year ago, I couldn't get anybody to talk to me about remote work. Everybody's like, we're not sending our people home. They'll be lucky if they get to work from home. That's a perk we only offer to our top performers and this kind of thing. Well, now everybody went home. Everybody did. And so now they're saying, like, how do we do it? And so I would say, you mentioned to Michelle that maybe, the pandemic was a blessing for some companies. For us, it was, because it showed our clients that they need what we have to offer. And so that's been actually where we kind of pivoted over the summer and have been working on that a good bit.
So I guess that's what you would say was your blessing in disguise, right? Because everyone had to go home and you had to work. You had to work from, like now you're teaching people what you were trying to do in the beginning, right?
Yeah, and I teach at the University of South Carolina. All my classes went online. And interestingly, my dream of being a stay-at-home mom was realized because I got a stay-at-home kid. She doesn't have to go to school anymore, right? So now that she's here all the time and I'm here all the time, we're homeschooling, we're spending a lot more time together. We have lunch together every day. We watch movies, we hang out. I'm watching her curriculum. So I have gotten back to that where I wanted to be when she was 4, which is to get to spend, most of my day with her, which has been just a tremendous blessing.
That is, you are right. That's the same thing with us. That is a true blessing to get to spend more time with your kids as mompreneurs.
Yes.
And the Casey Whitener story.
Sorry, you cut out for me just for a second there. The Casey Whitener story.
No, I said, what is one failure you consider a success in the
failure.
Casey Whitener entrepreneurial story?
Gosh, there have been so many failures. It's hard to figure out which one's a success. I would say the biggest one, we had a huge opportunity with a company down in Atlanta when we first got started. Excuse me. When we first got started, we had the opportunity to go into a company and help them create a learning organization. And it was an IT services company, an IT reseller. And we were excited about being able to help them with this. And I said to her, well, it's going to take a lot of time to put together this proposal. We're going to architect, we're going to organize, we're going to design a whole change strategy for your company. So I think you should pay us for this proposal. And she said, well, when she builds IT infrastructure proposals, she doesn't ever get paid for them because people buy the IT from her. So we took that as a challenge, and we went ahead and put in all these man hours, all this time into organizing this really good approach. And we delivered it to her. It's like 90 pages. We delivered it to her. We gave her this, this fantastic idea, a full strategy, a timeline, all these kinds of things. And we priced it. And she said, well, for that price, I could buy your whole company. And I was like, yeah, but we don't want to work in Atlanta. So no, but if you want to buy the program, we'll be glad to come and execute the program. And she said no. And I immediately thought she probably handed that program to somebody in her company and told them to do it. You know what I mean? Like we had basically just given her the recipe for how to make this work. And we hadn't gotten a thing out of it. And so I would say that was probably the biggest failure. Why was it a success? Well, what we learned was in a consulting business, the proposal shouldn't give away the plan, right? The proposal should basically say, here's what we can do, and you can't do it without us. And so learning how to write a proposal in a way that wasn't the full executable plan was really what I learned from that. And one of the things that we teach in the Clemson Road Academy, which is what you may mention to earlier, we do mentor independent consultants and help them learn how to run a consultancy and how to organize their work into deliverables and how to create knowledge products that they can sell. So that is one of the things that Clemson Road Creative does. We continue to do that on a very small scale. We work one-on-one with individuals. And then we also have an automated program that's fully online that people can access on clemsonroad.com.
Thank you. Thank you. Could you leave us a message? Thank you very much for, your wonderful story and all this wonderful information. And yes, feel free to, give your information out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say for me and for my, I'm still here. I couldn't tell if that was my internet or yours. So it's probably mine. I would say from my entrepreneurial story and from teaching and all that sort of thing, if I was going to tell any entrepreneur anything, it would be, and this goes off of what Michelle said about being authentic, the skills that you have and the gifts that you have, the world needs them. So put them out there and build a business around it, build a program around it, build workshops around it, use that content, the things that you know, and share them with the world. And that's the greatest way to build a business and to contribute to our overall success as a society, as honestly as human beings. So just give us the very best you have to offer, just like Vanessa does every day. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for having me.
Thank you very much, Dr. Casey, and Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a beautiful holidays as everyone else in here too. Thank you.
Same.
Okay, next we have Stephanie Kirkland. Stephanie Kirkland is the founder and CEO of Identity Dynamics, LLC. Identity Dynamics is a personal development company focused on the personal and professional development of women through the practice of identity leadership. She is certified as a coach, speaker, trainer, author, and thought leader on women's leadership. She has over 15 years of experience in identity-based leadership development and training. Stephanie's passion is seeing women unlock their potential for personal and professional success. She has her BA in psychology with a minor in religion from Queen's University in Charlotte, North Carolina. She has her Master's of Arts in Organizational Leadership from Columbia College in South Carolina. She is a certified coach through Life Forming Leadership Coaching through Regent University, Virginia. She is currently pursuing her doctorate of education with emphasis in organizational leadership from Northeastern University in Massachusetts. This is Stephanie Kirkland. Welcome, Stephanie. I would like to say something quickly. I am very honored to be also, to have you as a coach. You have taught me a lot about my personal identity, as far as my creed, my personal creed, I was able to, flourish more. And I just, you made me reach into my inner self. And I want to thank you very much for that. And I feel that all of you that are on here today deserve a global platform because of all the things you're out there doing for the community. And I would love for everyone to meet what you do. So would you tell us a little bit about Stephanie Kirkland? How did you know that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? How did you go from what you were doing before? What's your story before and now as an entrepreneur? What was that transition?
Well, again, thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here with you. My story is a little different. I've always been an entrepreneur. I've come from entrepreneurial parents. So my mom was an entrepreneur. So that's all I ever knew. So I've been doing entrepreneurship probably since I was 16. So when I was 16, me and my girlfriend, we started a modeling agency because we used to model when we were younger. So we started a modeling agency and had a personal development school. And from there, I just did other entrepreneurial endeavors. I worked a little bit part-time, but I've always been connected to entrepreneurship. That's who I am. That's what I've always loved. And so just as I began just moving that forward and that personal development piece just evolved over time because I've always taught it in some way, shape, or form. And so as I grew as a woman, learning about the transitions in my life, I'm learning that I wasn't fulfilled, that I wanted to do more things. I had a lot on my plate, but I did not know how to bring continuity to it. And so as I began walking out my own personal growth, personal development, identity journey, I shifted that concept and then began to teach it to other women. So then it bloomed into my company called In Pursuit of Me, where I worked with women, helped them with their personal development, finding their message. Why are they here? What does that look like for them? And how they want to show up and teaching them how to do that. And now we're transitioning into an identity leadership company where it's called Identity Dynamics. We're doing the same thing with In Pursuit of Me, but we've expanded our reach. So we're not only doing that for personal leadership, we're doing that for women in their professional leadership, their spiritual leadership, how they're showing up in their physical leadership. And we do organizational leadership as well. And we do events, we do retreats, just anything that's helping to empower women to show up bigger, to show up as their best selves, because I believe success begins with us understanding our identity.
Yes. Now, did you ever become nauseated or just say, this is enough with entrepreneurship? Because I'm telling you, I come from third generations of it. And when I was a teenager, I said, I don't want to hear anything about businesses anymore. And I was rebellious. Did you ever rebel against that?
No, I think the only time I did, the only thing that happened for me was when at different seasons in my life when I wasn't making the money that I needed to survive, I would get a part-time job or something like that. But I never veered from it because I always loved it. I love the independence. I love not having to work for anybody. I love having my own schedule, and then as I got older, then I had kids. So, I wanted to stay home with them. I wanted to help shape who they were going to be as young people because I have 3 boys. So it just always fit my life in some way, shape, or form. It always fit my goals. So no rejection here. I've always loved entrepreneurship.
I love the hours, choosing your hours, but I did rebel. I did rebel when I was a teenager, but that's good to hear.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about your kids becoming entrepreneurs as well? Is that something that you are teaching them, or are you just letting them, realize it and want to do it on their own as a mompreneur?
Well, they see me do it all of the time. So I see it in one of my boys, my oldest son. I see that little spark, so I'll, drop little nuggets, about his behaviors, and he'll come up with an idea and we'll sit down and kind of market it out, how he could be, strategic about it and all of the pieces of the puzzle to it. The other two, not so much. The twins, they're not really interested. They've kind of mapped out their goals and what that looks like for them. We've always talked about doing something together as a family, like with real estate or property or the own property, you know, as a part of our legacy. So they really into that. They're like, yeah, I can work with that.
Yeah.
You know, okay, you know. But other than that, the real spark is probably in my oldest son. But they do see me do it all the time. They'll sit around me and ask me questions. So they're curious. So you never know. You never know what happens.
That is true. You'll never know.
Yeah.
One of the things is how do you feel? Was this a blessing, the whole pandemic, or do you feel that it stopped you, it slowed you down, or it actually helped you get to where you need to be, transition into the next step in your business?
Well, the pandemic for me was a blessing. You know, we've done more business this year than I've done over my whole business career, really, with regards to what I do now. So when we pivoted from doing mainly in-person work and we went online, my audience grew because people who wanted to take my classes and programs could come now, right? So we got students in Virginia, Tennessee, California, I mean, all over the place. And they're like, yes, we can finally. Because primarily I was in person because I love personal contact. I love touching people. I love looking people in their face. That was just one of my things. So when it hit, you know, I had to either choose not to do anything or to shift. And so I chose to shift. And that shift has been a great blessing.
Wow. So what is one failure that you would consider a success in your entrepreneurial life?
One of my first books, I wrote a book called The Eve Dilemma. And so, and it's just about how do we connect with who we are as women in our relationship with God, and what does that look like, and how do we walk that journey out as women. And so I was just so excited. You know, I bought all these copies. I had launches. You know, I just knew it was just going to be awesome. I was going to sell 1 million copies. You know how that is. And so, you know, I sold locally. With local people. And so I'm like, okay, that, you know, didn't last too long. And so I was like, well, how can I kind of leverage this information? And I've always loved curriculum. I've always developed my own. I said, well, I'm going to turn it into a class. And so that's the success. I actually literally turned a book that I thought was going to do more than it did into a class. And so that class then was able to have women come, create community, learn about themselves. I was able to go to like different churches and places to talk about it, to teach on it. So what I thought it was going to be, which was just a blockbuster by itself, turned out to then in turn be a success because I just thought creatively. I got outside of the box. Of course, that's what we have to do as entrepreneurs. Yes. We got to come out the box, get innovative, stir those gifts on the inside of us. How can I turn this for my good? And it turned for my good. So it went from that to the success of being a program. And I learned during that process that I had a gift for creating curriculums and creating programs that could then in turn be used as a part of my platform.
About how many different courses do you offer now?
Oh my goodness. We have the personal leadership program where we focus on ourselves, who we are, how we show up. We have professional leadership, teaching women how to deal. It's called Woman Behind the Vision. What's going on behind the vision, right? We can get so caught up in business acumen and, you know, what's going on with forms and papers and connections and collaborations that we forget ourselves. So we have to look, how do I get that life-work harmony back? How do I develop that mindset necessary so that I can flow and be who I need to be in these spaces? How about, doing that executive presence? How do I do that? Learning about relationships and what they look like. So, that's Woman Behind the Vision. Then we do spiritual self-leadership. It's called Ezer, and just teaching women who they are from a, biblical perspective, looking at themselves as leaders and how to shape and walk that out. We have our physical leadership program where we deal with the brain and what's going on with limiting beliefs, the things that keep us from moving forward in our businesses and lives, health and wellness connected to that. We do executive coaching, 101 coaching with C-suite and executive women who are trying to position themselves and develop their identity blueprint for how they want to show up in their corporate structures. We do organizational leadership, where we're going in and coordinating with teams and companies about their platform with regards to identity. So everything we do is structured around identity, developing your identity, what that looks like, and how you show up with that. So those are just a couple of them. We do other things as well, but those are the main keys to our structure.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. I would love for you to leave us with a message from you.
Okay.
As an entrepreneur, as something that people can take away.
Okay, mine is work on you. Don't just do business. Success begins with you. You are more important than the product. And when you start working on you, your mindset, your heart, your beliefs, your values, your character, how you're showing up in your business, that's what gets you from one level to another. The business acumen gives you some, business structure, but that personal leadership, that identity leadership gives you the other piece. And when you put them together, you have success. So don't leave out you as you're doing your business.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Feliz Navidad and Merry Christmas. Thank you for everything today.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having me.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, now we would like to introduce Laurie Rao. Laurie Rao.
Hola.
Hola. After 20 plus years of service working for the Department of Defense and Booz, Allen and Hamilton, Laurie Rao, along with her husband, Mike, moved to South Carolina to raise her family. Since 2010, Laurie has owned her own art business, Dragonflies and Roses, where she creates original paintings. Recently, she has taken on the roles and responsibilities of Assistant Director for Mota Cross-Linking Business Academy. Before joining MECBA, Laurie was a member of the Columbia Sons of Italy, where she was the volunteer coordinator for many of the Italian festivals. She also served as secretary on the board of directors of Columbia Sons of Italy, and then later as vice president from Boston, Laurie is from Boston, Massachusetts. Laurie is second generation Italian and Irish. Thank you, Laurie. It's nice to have you here today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us how you went from working for the corporate world to an entrepreneur? What was that transition you made? How did you make it?
Well, I'd worked in the corporate world for 20 plus years. And when we moved to South Carolina, the promise of me being a stay-at-home mom was made, and I relished it until the first week was over. And then I realized my office was the laundry room. Then I said, okay, I need adult conversation. So I had to go out and do something. So that's how I started with Mary Kay, and I would do a lot. I would sit in the meetings, and I knew nothing about sales. So I would sit in the meetings and I would just absorb everything. And it took me a year to sell my first lipstick, but I did it. But anyway, that's how it all started.
Would you say, because there are people that say, oh, the pyramid businesses, would you say that those pyramid businesses can be a good anecdote sometimes for aspiring entrepreneurs? Or how do you feel that pyramid business helped you become that entrepreneur?
Well, they tell you it's not a pyramid business, and it's I'm not so sure as 20 years later if that's true or not. But anyway, I think by having people above me and people under me, if you're doing the business right, and if you're being instructed right by your mentors, then you can succeed. But if you sign up to do something like that and then are given no help or no guidance, you can be stuck owing a lot of money. And I didn't jump in to it full force. I was more or less. I'll put my toe in and see how it works.
And that's what made you go into the transition of dragonflies and roses.
Yeah. Well, after being in the corporate world all that time, I decided that I didn't want it anymore. I didn't want to really work for anybody else as in an office. So what I ended up doing was, from Mary Kay, I went to work. I worked for a catering company. I took bartending lessons. I went to interior decorating school. I mean, I did everything under the sun that I couldn't do before, but because I was able to do it around my children's schedule and my family's schedule, everything that I did in all those jobs gave me the courage and the self-confidence to be able to say, okay, I'm ready. When the kids were older, 2010, that is when I opened my doors.
Okay. So can you tell us a little bit about your business? What does it entail?
I have a couple of things that I do, actually more than a couple things. I have a doodle girl collection, a skinny knee collection, which I haven't done that in a while, but I also do ornaments where I work with real estate agents, and when they close on a house, they send me the picture and I paint it on an ornament and they give it to their buyer seller as a closing gift. So I do a lot of those. In fact, I'm finishing up, I think I've done 40 so far this season, give or take.
Do you have any samples of your art?
I actually do have some samples. I don't have an ornament in front of me, but I do have some of my skinny girls. I don't know if you can see this or not. This is my skinny knee. This is my skinny knee. This is one of the first ones I designed and I loved it. So I kept the original, but this is one of my little
So
designs.
you have sold this piece already?
I've sold it as prints.
Oh, okay.
And greeting cards, but I kept the original painting. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now you have a story, the doodle story. Can you tell us briefly about it? Because to me, that's inspirational. For those who were told, I was told once by a fourth grade teacher that I would never aspire to much. And I feel I've come a long way. Sometimes that gets you out of that shell. And I said, I will aspire to more than what you think.
Before I share the story, I want to, this is a doodle girl. Can you see that?
Okay. Yes, I can see the doodle girl.
That's a doodle girl. Okay. When I was little, my mom used to sew quite a bit, and she would be up for hours sewing. So I would sit with her to keep her company, and then she would have her patterns, and I would try to copy the pictures on the patterns. And then that's where my love of art started. And then when I was in elementary school, when the teachers were talking, I would sit there and doodle and create whatever. And then when I got to middle school, it was the same thing. And then when I was in high school, I decided that I was going to take art. And so when I went off to college, I had this professor that informed me that you can't, what he told me, he said I couldn't make any money selling doodles. And that was like, okay, you never tell a woman she can't do something. And so, of course, I had to prove him wrong. But after, I had to stop after my 2-year degree, after my associates, because I had to work. And then when I got married, of course, I had to put all my art stuff on the back burner because I don't like sharing my crayons. And so I took them out again in 2010. And then this is what's come of my doodling.
Good. So can you share with us one failure that brought success to you in your business?
Okay. Part of my business, I do painting parties, and I only, now I do them by special request. But at the time when I started the painting party business, I had invited all my friends. I had it at a little restaurant in Harbison, invited all my friends, and all but one did not show. I had one person show up, and I could have just canceled it, but I decided, no, this girl has paid her money, and I'm going to follow through, and I am going to teach her how to paint through a painting party. She had basically a private lesson from me, and I love to talk about this. The girl was actually like in her 60s at the time, and she has more paintings now in her house than I have. She had never picked up a paintbrush before. She never did any art. And now I unleashed this creative genius. And she's done art shows. She's sold pieces. She's made them into greeting cards. But it's all because I showed her how to paint that day.
And that one client brought you more later because, I've seen your painting parties and I've seen up to 30, 40 people in them. So this is very important for people. You just said a key. Even if you have one person show up, you still treat them with dignity and you treat them as if they were 30 of them, because that's how you're going to grow your business. I really love that message. Would you leave us with a message from Laurie Rao, the entrepreneur, please? Okay,
I'm actually going to leave you with two. Years ago, I went to a conference where John Maxwell was speaking, and he shared this story. And I'm not going to share this story, but the message was, just do it. Just swing the bat. Just do it. I was afraid I wouldn't go out there because, I don't think my art that's great. But you know what? That first sale I had, I felt like on top of the world. So just do it. Just don't be afraid. Follow your passion and just do it. And then the next message I'm going to leave is, actually it came from my father who passed away a while back. Anyway, he said, it is okay to color outside the lines. So be disruptive. Do it. Just do it.
Thank you. Yeah, that was my word for 2020, disruption. That I love that word. So yes, disruption is really good. Thank you very much, Laurie. Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas, and thank you for everything, okay? Thank you. So today has been really great with all these great speakers. Now, finally, last but not least, Alejandra Huizar Ortiz. After dedicating 35 years to corporate America, Alejandra Huizar entered a world of entrepreneurship. She began working alongside her brother, Adalberto Huizar, Beto, who had been a life and health insurance agent all his career. She saw that as his own boss, he always had time to spend with his family. That was her greatest desire, to be her own boss, to have more time. So 2 years ago, she began that change and took that leap. She was afraid that at her age, learning and taking on a new career would be impossible. How many of us think that all the time? But if she didn't try, if she didn't try at her age, learning and taking on a new career would be impossible. But if she didn't try, it would have never been possible. Today, she is proud of herself for being able to learn and pass the producer state exams for both health and life insurance. At the moment, the most important role she plays is helping the senior population get affordable health care. She has learned that our Hispanic population are in need of an advocate to help them. And this is where Alejandra is at this moment. Now, Alejandra, can you tell us your story? How did you go from corporate to entrepreneurship? What was that transition like? What were the feelings going on? Like, what feelings were going through you when you were transitioning?
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for having me here. It was such big emotions, mixed emotions. Like I said, I always wanted to follow my brother's footsteps, and he had done that all his life. Um, but the longer I waited, the more I felt like I can't do this. I can't do this. I won't be able to learn. Things will not stick to me. But I did. I jumped. I took that leap of faith, and I started with the life insurance, and that was nice. It was an extremely learning experience, especially working with the senior population, helping them with their final expenses. They had other needs. They had other needs that's where I learned that I am here for them. That I need to be here to help them.
So, what when you worked in corporate, what did you do exactly?
I worked for the legal department all my life. I worked for legal department. It was the past 20 years that I worked for PepsiCo, and it was very interesting. I loved my job, and I believe that's why one of the reasons that it took me longer to do this change. I really enjoyed working, for the legal department. We worked in marketing, um, doing contracts for people like Michael Jordan and celebrities, for the commercials. So it was a fun job. It was fun. I loved it. But it was still in 9 to 5. My time was in their hands. My vacation was in their hands, and that was my greatest desires. Time on my own hands. Time on my own desires.
So, time has been your biggest, I guess, key source that has made you transition from corporate to your entrepreneurship world. How do you see time now, especially during this pandemic?
You know what? That's one of the greatest. You know, I don't want to say one of the greatest assets we were given during these past 9 months. We were given time that we have never had before. You
Yeah.
know, either to really be with our family, to really bond with our family, to really either just sit there with them and watch TV. Those were special moments that we have not had time to do. So we were given a lot of time. Now it was our choice to do with that time what we needed to do. Either you could learn other things, come out of this pandemic a whole new person, or just continue being, same person you've always been. And that was my greatest thing is, take advantage of the time we were just given. And so I learned, and that's when I pushed myself and I learned a new career.
So, you, with your business, everything's virtual right now.
It it is, but not. I would say 50%.
Okay.
When I talk to seniors, they're you know they're not savvy, computer savvy, so they want me there. And not only that is that they want a company, they want someone to talk to, and they're our most vulnerable population. So I have to take care of myself in order to be able to be with them and take care of them. So it was hard. I'm saying it was hard because open enrollment ended, and it was a success because I was able to help them and not getting myself sick and not getting nobody sick. That was what worried me the most. Bringing this disease to their
Yes.
homes. So that was great. But no, it was not virtual. I learned everything virtually, but for them is, can you come over? Can you show me? Can you come to my house? And I was at their house.
Yeah. So you do a lot of elderly care as well. You help them, just by being there as a presence and having that company. So I would say this is one of the biggest, like you would say, like a big plus in your business that
Yes,
you enjoy.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I have so many new friends. Now that they're calling me back with all their questions. Now they're calling me back with every single letter they receive. Oh, I received a letter from Medicare. Please explain and come over and explain. And as much as I want to just take a picture, send it to me. No, 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 no. I'm gonna have breakfast for you. Come over.
Oh, so you get taken care of very well as well. Good. This is nice. So, what is one failure that has been a success in your business for the time that you've been in your business thus far?
The greatest failure for me was not believing in myself, not believing that I could learn, not believing that I can take on, the desire that I wanted to, which was to be an entrepreneur, to follow
Okay.
my brother's footsteps, to be able to do that, that entrepreneur and have my own time.
Thank you very much. Could you leave us with a message from Alejandra, the entrepreneur? Give us a message that we can take away.
Yes. Like the other lady said, it is up to us. We have a choice. We have our own choice in our destiny. We can choose to be what we are, who we are, and how we do that. We were just giving time, and it's your choice to do with your time, and take advantage, and just learn some new things. Take that 1 hour instead of watching a show. Just read something that will broaden your mind, broaden your knowledge. Just keep knowledge is the key. Knowledge is key, and right now we have that choice to learn more.
Thank you very much. Again, Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad. Everyone did wonderful, and thank you so much. We would like to leave this leading Fantastic Five with 5 wonderful stories, 5 wonderful spotlights, and 5 wonderful, phenomenal women. So the leading Fantastic Five. Thank you very much. And right now we're going to watch a little video of how CAINEM began. It is in Spanish. Soon it will hopefully come in subtitles in English. But meet my wonderful partner, Carol and Cesar. Thank you.
CAINEM nace a partir de la conversación que tuvieron 2 emprendedores. Al intercambiar opiniones se dieron cuenta que las dificultades por las cuales atravesaba su emprendimiento eran muy similares. Entonces decidieron ser parte de la solución en vez del problema.
CAINEM nace con la finalidad de generar espacios y oportunidades de consejería, empoderamiento y servicios especializados para los emprendedores.
Nuestra visión en CAINEM es ser referente en temas de emprendimiento y negocios a nivel mundial. Brindamos espacios de desarrollo y crecimiento para los emprendedores mediante servicios especializados tales como conferencias, seminarios, talleres, misiones comerciales, entre otros. Todo esto te permitirá desarrollar tu negocio y poder cumplir con tus objetivos.
En CAINEM buscamos educar a las personas y enseñarles la importancia de la planificación, la gestión empresarial y la toma de decisiones para que así encuentren el éxito en su camino empresarial.
En CAINEM creemos que los emprendedores podemos hacer un mundo mejor, más humano y socialmente activo.
Thank you very much. Feliz Navidad and Merry Christmas. Hasta el 2021 with Leading Fantastic Five. Gracias.